This looks like an unfortunate case that took place in front of children. Mr. Rodriguez, you're a coach for a baseball team?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does one of your children participate in the game?
Yes, my son.
And how old are the children who are on the
It's
team?
10 and 11, or this one is 11 and 12, I'm sorry.
And Miss Smith's son is also on the team?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been involved with her son and the team?
Well, as much as I can. I work a lot of hours, so I...
Just tell me, how many times have you been involved with her son and the team?
A couple of games.
When you say a couple is two.
About 6 games.
So you've seen him 6 times?
Yes.
Now, this is what I understand from both your complaint and your answer. You allege that these 2 people responsible for an assault on you. Yes. And Miss Smith, according to you, you wanted some of the pitchers to stay afterwards for some more coaching. Is that what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Smith didn't think her son needed any more coaching, so you told your son to come on, and he didn't come.
No.
So what did you do next?
I called his name again and told him to come on, I'm ready to go.
And he said?
And he looked at Carlos. And then at that time, Dominica said, his mom's ready to go. And he said, well, I asked her, could I have...
Other children were staying for the coaching.
The game had just ended, and he called it.
Well, it couldn't have just ended because you said now you were waiting for 15 minutes. So it ended 15 minutes before. My question to you is a simple one. How many children were remaining with Carlos?
It was like 3 or 4 kids still out there, but everyone was still there.
But they were remaining?
Yes.
You said, I'm ready to go?
Yes.
What was the emergency?
He had already had his 5 to 10 minutes. I was ready to go. We had already been out there.
I'm just asking you. His teammates are there. Where was your emergency?
I was ready to leave. I had been at the ball field.
That's the answer.
I was ready to go.
So what did you do?
I told him to come on. Yes.
Yes. I want to know what your son did when you said, I'm ready to go.
He looked at me, and then he walked towards me.
Okay, and?
And then Carlos said, I'm trying to help him out. And I said, help your son out.
So you got an attitude?
Yeah, yes.
Why would you get an attitude?
Because when he said, I'm not going in all the details, what he said, like, I'm trying to help him out. And so that ticked me off. So you said to him, help your own kid out? Yes. Yeah, okay. And then what did you do? And so me and Carlos had words back and forth. Towards you, and you and the coach in front of the... He's really not a coach either. You and the coach are having words in front of the children. Yes. Why didn't you just take your son and leave? I was leaving until he said, and so I responded back. Smart. I know. Oh, I know. Really? I should have walked away, but... You're absolutely right. So instead you didn't walk away. No. You went to the car. Yes. And got your boyfriend. Yes. What did you go to the car and get your boyfriend for? Because he was disrespecting me, calling me out of my name, and why would I sit there and argue with him? But your son was with you. Yes. Now you have your son and your boyfriend, and you're at your car. Why didn't you just get in the car and leave? Because I was upset. Because you were angry? Yes, very much. And with her son. What did she say to you? And I want you to make believe there was a microphone and it was recorded right into my head.
So you want me to use profanity?
I want you to say exactly what Miss Smith said to you when she got back to the car.
She said, come here, this is being disrespectful.
Okay, come here, this blank blank is being disrespectful.
Absolutely.
And what did you do?
Proceeded to go see what the said. African cream, sir. And he said, and he said, but I apologize. I said, okay, well, that's cool. Don't let it happen again. He know me before. He know me. I used to work at a job with him. And we had an altercation before. And he backed down, so he already knew who I was. So he said, okay, it's cool. I won't disrespect her again. So then we was leaving. As soon as we started leaving, I guess his false masculinity built up in him. And he said, well, both of you. So I came to see what all that was about. And that's when I proceeded to put his in the dirt. So that's what happened, man.
And then what happened?
Then he bear hugged me, we tussling around, and while we tussling around, just like the snake he is, he bit my finger. So I'm beating him upside his head so he can let go of my finger, and then that's when the coaches came through to break it up. But I wasn't aware of it at this time that...
14 years.
Who do you live with?
Myself and my son.
Well, that's not alone. She didn't mean that. She meant she lived with you.
2 sons, I'm sorry.
Do you rent or do you own your home?
I now own it.
Had you rented it before?
My father owned it. He passed away, and I now own it.
When did you inherit it?
February of this year.
Where did you live prior to February of this year?
I lived home, I just didn't own it.
Okay, so you've lived in the same home for 14 years?
Yes.
And how long have you known Miss O'Brien?
5 or 6 years?
Would you consider yourselves friends?
Not anymore.
Were you then?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Miss O'Brien, you know why I'm asking those questions, don't you? I'm asking those questions because the incident that surrounds this case happened well over a year ago. And I was curious as to why you delayed in bringing this case for well over a year. And then in your response, you say it's because the defendant, whom you had known for a long time, disappeared.
Yes.
Well, clearly she didn't.
I attempted to. She did leave the area.
No, she didn't. Says when she found out that I was going to serve her, she disappeared, so I wouldn't be able to serve her. It wasn't until June 2014 when she opened a new restaurant I was able to serve her. She's lived in the same house for 14 years. So that's not true, which is not a good way to start off with me. Okay. Now, this is what your case is about. The defendant was a friend of yours, according to you, and also worked for you. And it is your claim that you and your husband went out of town, and it is your claim that the defendant stole a car of yours and had an accident with that car, and you want her car after that for a period of time, and she should not be held responsible for that because if you had taken the car in at the time, it wouldn't have had as extensive damage as it did. That's pretty much your defense.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of work did you do for her?
She had a contract with a charter school, and so when she would go out of town, I would go in and clean the charter school for her after school let out.
And she would pay you for that?
Yes, she paid me.
Paid you in check or cash?
Cash.
How much?
$12 an hour.
How many times did you go in and clean for her that she paid you for?
Probably 10 or 15.
From what period of time to what period of time?
Probably like June or July of 2013 until this incident happened.
Which was what date?
September 13th through the 17th.
That's when you used this car?
Yes.
How did you get possession of the car?
I don't know now. At the time, she just had myself.
So she would tell just you?
Yes, she would
come
tell
and
me
park.
to come.
So there were no other employees?
No, I guess
so
not.
she would tell you, you can leave your car and take my car.
Correct.
Why would you want to take her car instead of your
Because
car?
she keeps the cleaning supplies and the vacuum and everything in her car.
Okay,
so
and how
instead
much-
of wasting time and putting it in my car, I just take her car.
And you did that with her permission?
Yes.
And when she was going out of town last year, you were going to take over the responsibility of cleaning the charter school?
Yes.
And that was by agreement with her?
Yes, and a church.
Now, prior to her going out of town, had you used her car before?
Yes, several times.
What kind of a car is it?
It's a PT Cruiser. I don't know what year.
How many cars do you have, Miss O'Brien? You used the PT Cruiser in the past. Prior to this incident happening, she would be correct.
Maybe one other time.
I don't care.
Okay.
One out
Yes.
of time?
Yes.
So she had
Yes.
used it before?
Yes, she had.
Okay. Tell me about the accident.
Well, it wasn't really an accident. I was trying to get from point A to point B, and I was using a GPS system, and I hit a pothole or a rock, I'm not sure, but it put a hole in the radiator. So my son, not this son, another son, was with me. We pushed the car to a truck stop where I had the radiator patched, and I have the bill here showing that
I'd like to see
I
that.
paid that. It was only $25 to fix it.
Patched.
It was patched. They fixed the radiator. I drove the car home with no overheating issues. The car was fine.
Well, but a patch doesn't fix it.
They said it did. I don't know. I'm not a mechanic.
I'm not either. Does a
But
patch fix the
they welded the radiator because it's metal and it had a hole, and then they...
And that was the only thing that was wrong with the car?
Yes.
And then you came home and tell me what you found.
I drove the PT not knowing anything was wrong with it. We drove it 1.4 miles to the school to clean it. It had my supplies in it. My husband and I.
Okay, so you drove the car a little over a mile.
And as soon as we got halfway there, it was running really, really rough. When I got to the school, I texted Bonnie and said the car was running really, really rough. Didn't hear anything. When we left the school, we drove 2 more miles to the grocery store, and the car stalled out right there. I texted Bonnie again. We need to get home. We barely made it in the driveway, and it stalled out again. My son came out. We had to push the PT Cruiser up about 15 feet uphill, and all the oil just spilled all out.
Okay, so let me understand this. She used the car,
Yes.
returned the car is now back, and you take the PT Cruiser and travel with it for 4 miles, come back, and other than the car, according to you, saying that, gee, the car is riding very rough, you had no indication from looking at the car that it had been in any sort of difficulty?
Did not know.
Right. And you drove it for 4 miles. And then you came back, and then all of the oil came out and whatever. Now, according to your statement, you say, when Bonnie brought the car back the next day, I was shocked. It had obviously been in an accident. Oil was pouring out of it, and it was not drivable. Well, that's not true. You signed it. Room.
I have a copy of the ad? Yes.
So you went and took a look at the room.
Yes.
You liked it. You gave him a deposit for the room.
I gave him, yes.
And in total, how much of a deposit did you give him?
I gave him $100 to hold the room until the 1st, then I gave him $1,000 on the 1st.
1st of?
June.
And in what month did you give him the $100 to hold the room?
The day before.
Oh, so practically immediately.
But I respond. My notes here.
Got it. Got it. Oh. Going to move in June 1st, is that right?
Correct.
Why?
I had a comfortable leeway for moving from one room to another. I believe it was about 12 days before I had to be out.
Okay.
So I wasn't in any particular hurry. Plan.
And for some strange reason, you decided to go over and socialize with Mr. Dawson.
Well, in addition to measure the room.
Measure the room and socialize.
Yes.
Because you brought a bottle of alcohol.
Yes.
What kind of alcohol did you bring?
A bottle
of... And I do like Jack Daniels.
Oh, so he brought Jack Daniels?
Yes, the 5th.
Could that have been? He seems to know.
It was Jack Daniels.
Okay. I don't know one from another. I just know my vodkas. Now, you went over to measure the room and brought over the Jack Daniels on what date?
The 4th of June.
And were you drinking with him, Mr. Dawson?
Yes, I was.
Anybody else drinking with the two of you?
Yes, my neighbor was over there.
A male or a female?
It was a male.
So the 3 guys were drinking?
Yes.
This bottle of Jack Daniels. Was it a full bottle of Jack Daniels when you started?
Yes, it was.
And when you finished, was it half full or was it empty?
It was completely empty.
So everybody was... You're going to tell me what happened. However, this is what your case is about. Because you had this fight with each other, you never moved into the room.
Correct.
And you want your deposit back.
Yes.
That's part of it.
And the first month's rent.
Did you also give him the first
month's rent? I gave him
a
first in deposit.
So how much did you give him altogether?
I gave him $1,100.
Well, that's what I have.
Okay.
$1,100. You
Right.
gave him $100 and $1,000.
Yes.
So the first thing is you want that back.
Yes.
And then you want punitive damages because you say that during this kerfuffle that you had, he assaulted you.
Yes, he did.
Mr. Dawson says that you came over, you all got drunk, and you filed false charges against him for assaulting you. He spent a little time discussing it with the police. They did not file charges against him, and he has a counterclaim. Okay. How drunk were you, Mr. Dawson? Quantify it on a scale of pretty good buzz.
It was. It was a good, yes.
And Mr. Smith, you see, first of all, I have to tell you, I think he's being honest with me, that he was pretty buzzed. I expect the same kind of honesty from you.
Certainly.
Great. So on the 4th of June, when you 3 guys are sitting around doing the bottle of Jack Daniels, on the same scale of 1 to 10, how buzzed were you?
Inasmuch as I had a couple of other appointments for later in the evening, I would say maybe 2. I was sipping Jack Daniels. They were drinking Jack Daniels.
Give me on my scale of 1 to 10.
2.
A 2.
Yes, ma'am.
No way.
Then I'm going to let you tell me what happened.
Well, he and his friend were drinking from the bottle. I was sipping a little. I'd take a little sip, put the cap.
Oh, you would
take the cap off, take a sip, put the cap on, set the bottle back down.
And you never knew them from before, right?
No, not at all.
Why would you drink out of the same bottle? It's disgusting.
I've never had an issue with it before.
Who were you?
Rayreen Cauliflower, Mr. Smith's caregiver and best friend.
You don't kiss him on the mouth, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay. So now they're, what is it called, swigging, and you're sipping.
Yes.
And then what happened?
I had another appointment. I went out to my motor scooter. I made a phone call. A gentleman that I was going to meet with wasn't available. I put my document bag in the box on the back of my motor scooter, was backing up, went to leave. I felt something. I turned around and looked. My document bag was gone, which carries my phone, my wallet, my keys, all of my belongings, and saw him going back into the house.
Saw him?
Just the back of him going into the house. I went back into the house, saw all of a sudden a fist hits me. Didn't see it, didn't see him, didn't see the fist coming. and he hit me.
How do you know it was him and not the neighbor?
I mean, I didn't see it coming. I saw him after he hit me,
Oh.
and I just continued right on out the back door, got on my motor scooter, and rode home. Got my pickup truck, went to the police department.
When you say a motor scooter, is that like a mini motorcycle?
Yes, it's a very small a motor scooter, no pedals, but it has a very small engine. It goes about 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour.
What do you need a caregiver for?
I'm disabled. My left arm and shoulder, this arm is pretty much useless. It's paralyzed. My neck is all fused from a previous accident. I've got a replacement
You drive
vertebrae.
a motor scooter and your neck is all fused? I'm just asking
Yes,
what you
yes.
need a caregiver for. What does she do for you?
She helps me with, she's a friend.
She's a friend of yours.
Yes.
I mean, she identified herself as a caregiver.
I am a caregiver.
She is a professional caregiver, and she helps me. She assists me in
Who
anything I have
pays
to-
you?
Nobody pays me. I actually help him financially. He's my best friend for many years.
So you're not his caregiver?
Well, yeah, I am. I just don't get paid for it.
Okay. Now, did you see a doctor? Did you go to the hospital?
I went to the hospital.
I'd like to see the record from the hospital, please.
And
do you have a police report, sir?
Yes, I have a police report.
I'd like to take a look at that, too.
Here's a police report.
Thank you.
Here's an invoice from the hospital.
Yeah,
What's up?
And I assume, sir, that I look and see what you're suing for, that most of these charges were paid for by your insurance. right?
Being as they were paid by insurance, I saw no need to try
Right.
to get restitution. I have a picture of
3 children?
Two.
2 children. She stayed in the residence. You left. But when you left, according to you, there were some large items that you had purchased on credit that you're still paying for, that you want. Would you tell me what they are?
I really only purchased a washer and dryer that I'm still paying for. When we went together, I purchased a nice sectional because the sectional that she had before, it wasn't the best sectional in the world, but
I don't care about the sectional,
I
sir.
bought the
If what you're telling me is she had an old sectional and you bought a new one and she got rid of the old one,
yes.
well, what do you want them to sit on?
She can buy one.
Well, she can't, but actually you were living together as a couple under those circumstances. So when you bought it, you did in fact buy it for the house.
True.
Now, how much is still owed on the washer and dryer?
$2,100, $2,138.
Can I see the bills,
Yes,
please? When were they purchased?
December 2013.
Do you have your checks or?
They gave me a receipt before I was leaving. I called Conn's, the actual store, and they said that they would mail it to me.
I don't know what this is.
It just stated at the bottom, a little over $4,000.
A month?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how much do you pay a month?
$134.
He's coming to get the washer and dryer with a marshal. Okay. It better be in good shape. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. It's unfair. I mean, if you want the washer and dryer, pay him for them.
I had a washer and dryer before we bought that. It was in perfectly good condition. It was still working.
But listen, then you shouldn't have bought a new one. Then you shouldn't have bought a new one if it was working
He's
just
the one
fine.
that decided, and he got rid of my old ones. I didn't even make money off of them, and they were working.
Can't help you, my darling. He is not going to be paying $2,000 for a washer and dryer that's at your house. He's coming with a marshal to get it. And it better be in good shape.
So is he going to pay for that right now?
Listen to me. He's coming to get the washer and dryer with a marshal.
Okay.
Not your sofa that you can sit on, that he paid for, and he has no further obligation with regard to that. He's not your father of your children. Buy a washer and dryer.
We lived together for 3 years.
I don't care. You tolerated him, he tolerated you, and your children.
Yeah, and I tolerated his unfaithfulness.
Just a second. You tolerated him, he tolerated you, and your children. Mm-hmm. It's over. He doesn't have to have any more legal burden with regard to you or your children. The couch is another story. Yeah. Couch he paid for, he's going to kiss that goodbye. Go get the washer and dryer, sell it, do whatever you want to do with it. 5 days. What else is there?
I had stuff that I brought into the relationship from my prior marriage.
Like what?
I have a 72-inch TV, a TV stand, a stereo, a pool table, a fish tank, weight equipment. It's a lot of stuff, man.
Just a second. Weight equipment.
It's kind of like a weight bench. A weight bench.
You came into the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have them in your house?
Yes, I do.
He's going to pick it up. TV, stereo.
I have everything that I actually brought into the relationship.
He had the opportunity to take the things. He didn't take them.
He's coming to get them now. Within 5 days. TV and stereo. Anything else you need from me?
No, ma'am.
Great. 5 days. TV, stereo, washer and dryer.
And the TV stand.
and stand.
Thank you.
Now, you have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
The counterclaim is money owed for cost to obtain new locks.
Yes.
Plus pain and suffering for what?
For the things that you put me through.
Oh.
My kids.
Oh,
He's the one
get
that
out of here.
cheated.
Listen, grow up. Grow up, even you're not serious. Now, why did you have to change the locks?
Because he kept coming into the house without my authorization.
Your counterclaim's dismissed. 5.
Excuse you, step up.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kelly versus Barrios. Step forward.
Melody Kelly is suing her neighbor, Mylene Barrios, for medical bills and lost wages after she was attacked by Mylene's pit bull.
Miss Kelly, your claim is that the defendant's dog bit you
Yes, ma'am.
in several places.
Yes.
You want to be reimbursed not only for your medical bills, but you want, in addition, pain and suffering, lost wages.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Barrios said you sort of overreacted to the situation, so it was her fault. Yeah. Tell me when this happened.
April 14th, 5 p.m.
And you and Miss Barrios are neighbors?
Yes.
Are your houses right next door to each other?
2 houses away.
Tell me what you were doing.
My dog was waiting at the front door. She waits for my husband to come home, and he was later than normal. So I said, Molly, let's go outside and wait for Daddy. We had just walked out the front door. We were right in front of my garage, and my dog looked over at something, and I looked, and I saw the pit bull, and it was crouched.
House away.
Correct.
So the dog was really one full house away from where it lived.
It was, yes.
What was your dog doing out?
My dog was in my garage.
Well, your dog wasn't in the garage. I mean, I read your answer. Your dog wasn't in your garage. I read your answer.
Yeah, it ran out when it seen her dog.
It ran out of your garage.
Yeah.
So is that what happened?
Yes.
The dog escaped from your garage.
Yes.
Now, is the garage a garage door that goes up and down?
I have a sliding screen that goes across.
How big is the sliding screen?
It covers the whole garage. I have a 2-car garage.
So you have to pull it this way?
Yes, it slides to the side.
Well, then how did the dog get out?
It slid it open when it seen her dog running.
Well, how did the dog, with a paw?
Well, it nuzzles the door open. I kind of slid it.
What?
It kind of slid it to the side.
So you saw her dog. Her dog was in between your house and the house next door to you.
It was about 5 feet away.
From you?
Mm-hmm.
And your dog?
Mm-hmm.
You have a small dog?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
So tell me what happened next.
Without even thinking, I saw the dog, I reached down and I scooped her up and held her here, and it jumped at me then. I turned and it jumped on my back, and that's when I just instinctively put her above my head, and that's where I held her, and I just kept spinning, trying to get away from this dog. Every time I tried to walk forward, it would circle me, and I just was screaming for my son.
Where did the dog bite you?
The first time it got my arm, the second it bit me in the head, and the third one was the actual whole eye.
Do you have photographs?
Yes.
Your injuries? I'd like to see them. How many stitches did you have on your eye?
10.
Mr. Damer, the defendant is your former son-in-law. He and your daughter share a child. He has primary physical custody of the child. So far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you legally divorced?
Yes, Your Honor.
When were you divorced?
July of 2009.
And how long have you had primary custody of your daughter?
The final paperwork was signed.
He actually got a
Car.
co-sign. Yes, ma'am.
You co-signed on a car?
Mm-hmm.
And both of your names were on the title?
Yes, ma'am.
But the agreement was that Mr. Poling was going to make the payments, take care of the insurance, because for all intents and purposes, so you were no longer working for Mr. Damer. But you continued to make FAR remained, as it should have remained, insured.
No, Your Honor. The insurance lapsed in October of 2013. I was unable to provide roof over my child's head, so I let the insurance lapse in order to do that.
In what month and year was the car flooded out?
It was October 31st, 2013 to bring that with me and dropped on his property.
By whom?
By a tow company, Elite Towing.
And where is the car now?
It's still in the same exact spot that it was dropped off.
How much is owed on the car?
$13,500.
I've got paperwork right here that says the balance is $12,479.11.
Who's supposed to pay that?
Me, Your Honor.
Right, because you didn't have the insurance.
Case 2097, Duran versus Shaw.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Duran, the defendant is the property manager at a place where you used to live.
Yes.
And you are suing her for evicting you from that place. You want a whole bunch of money. You're suing her for $10,000 for your moving expenses, for assault, for emotional distress because you had to move. Ms. Shaw says that your behavior caused you to be evicted. You violated the rules, and that's why you were served notice of eviction. So first, let me know when you started living at the property that is managed by the defendant.
In 2019.
Did you have a lease?
Yes, I did.
Do you have a copy of that lease with you?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Okay, so this initial lease was August of 2019, and it terminated on July 31st, 2020. It provided for 3 people to live in the apartment. Okay, and was the lease renewed?
Nope.
Okay, and so then you became a month-to-month tenant?
Yes.
And that was in February of 2020?
They also increased the rent.
That's okay, they're allowed to do that. That's a business.
No, I know.
They're allowed to do that. When your lease was extended on a month-to-month basis after February of 2020, would you tell me if the same people lived in the apartment as were on the original lease?
No.
So more people moved in?
Yes.
Who?
That would be my sisters and my mother.
Sisters?
Yes.
2 sisters?
Yes.
And when did they move in?
Maybe about, maybe 2020, maybe? Couldn't really be positive.
So that would have been in violation of your original lease?
Yes.
And it was an apartment that you were renting? And the apartment complex has a pool?
Yes, it does.
And the incident around, circumstances surrounding this eviction that was served on you, that happened in what month and year?
It was in June.
November of 2021?
Yes.
And in November of 2021, did you know that there were additional people living in the house?
Yes.
And didn't tell her that they had to vacate, that it was in violation of the terms of her underlying lease?
I had that morning, actually, when the confrontation happened.
No, I'm talking about, pay attention. My question was, did you register any complaint with the plaintiff about the additional people living there? Be very careful that you tell me the truth, because I know that you think you may know where I'm going, but you don't. Did you make any complaint to her November, December, January, February, March, April, or May? The answer is either yes or no about the other people living in the house.
No.
So I guess I'm going to start with you, because an incident occurred that resulted in her being evicted, that you're serving her with a notice of eviction.
Right.
Tell me when that took place, because I have to know what your reason was. That's a fair statement.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So in June 22, like I said, that morning I had served.
What
that
morning?
June 21st or something, I believe.
What kind of letter were you serving on her?
I just gave them, mine is, it's just a complaint notice, saying that.
Do you have a copy of that? Do you know what she's talking about?
Yes, I have a copy.
I'd like to see it.
There you go.
Okay, well, this is a letter that says you and your company were eating and drinking in the pool area even after I told them to stop, that it wasn't allowed. They did not stop, and there is absolutely no eating or drinking in the pool area. Okay, so that's the letter she served to you, and that was on just your sister.
No, it was her and her friend.
No, just a second. Let's get it together. So your sister, who wasn't supposed to be there, but they sort of let that skate.
Oh, well,
who wasn't supposed to be there.
Okay.
Okay, so your sister and who else?
That would be my sister, her boyfriend, and 2 of her friends, or 3 of her friends, I think.
Had they ever been to the pool before?
My sister has, but not her friends.
So the person who wasn't supposed to be living with you, that's your sister,
yes,
invited her boyfriend and 3 other friends to the pool.
She called and asked if it was okay first.
She asked you?
Yes.
And you said fine?
Yes.
You didn't call the manager?
No.
Okay. And you are aware that there's no eating and drinking in the pool?
That's not what it says on my lease.
Is that what it says at the pool?
Nope.
Does it say anywhere in the house rules?
Nope.
Nope, it's not an answer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The answer is no.
No, ma'am, it is not.
No. Now, when you've been living there for a long time, do you use the pool?
Yes, I do.
Ever had any trouble in the time from November of last year? Ever had any complaint?
Nope.
Nope is
No,
not an
sorry,
answer.
sorry,
No
I'm
is
sorry.
the answer. No,
Yeah,
no
okay,
complaint.
no, sorry.
Okay. And did you discuss with your sister and her friends that there were any rules that she had to abide by?
No, I did not, because I was not home yet.
Stand up. First name is?
Aaliyah.
You were their boyfriend and 3 girlfriends. Any children?
No.
You know this lady?
Yes.
What happened when she came to tell you that there was no eating or drinking at the pool?
So we were standing.
Just what happened when she told you?
She came screaming at us, telling us that we needed to get the food out and that we needed to go.
Get the food out. What kind of food had you
It was
brought
just
in?
pizza and like a soda and water.
So it wasn't a piece of fruit. You were having a meal there, pizza and food. Had you ever seen your sister bring food into the pool area?
Snacks, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not talking about snacks. Did she ever bring food into the pool area?
No.
What prompted you to order food into the pool area?
It was a hot day and we were hungry and I'm not.
Because usually there are signs posted around a pool. I've lived in enough places to know, and the pool signs usually say no jumping in the pool, no food or drink around the pool, right?
Yes.
Most pools say that.
Yes.
Did this pool say that?
It just said, like you said, no jumping in the pool, no diving, to come into the pool, but it never said nothing about food, drinks, nothing like that.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So now you please establish to me, Miss Shaw, that there was notice that there was no food and drink at the pool.
Their pool addendum.
May I see?
And then also no guest addendum.
Just a second.
It's all part of their...
Hold on. You're Melissa Duran.
Yes, I am.
And that's your signature?
Yes.
Yes. The pool is reserved exclusively for the use of residents of the building. That's what it says.
Okay.
That's what you signed. No diving in the pool area, no intoxicated persons. Okay. I just want you to show me here, first of all, the only thing that they are violating is that pool is reserved exclusively for the residents of the building. That's in here, but I don't see anything about food.
The new pool addendum wasn't part of their contract. So when we put out the new one, it was for more updated tenants, but we didn't serve them on the food, we served them on the guests.
Is what you're saying to me, the only thing that she signed is this, and there is no sign around the pool that says no eating or drinking?
There is a sign by the pool.
Do you have a copy of it?
I don't have a copy of that.
Why not?
I texted her that I was sorry that they had food in the pool and I did not know that.
So that you knew they weren't supposed to have food in the pool?
Yeah, but I didn't know they bring it.
Just a second.
Melissa Duran claims her former property manager, Tracy Shaw.
Them changing the pool addendum, I posted the new pool addendum on all of the doors, and I have actually text messages of Melissa asking me, can we, the no floaties? And I said, well, of course,
may I?
For children and whatnot, but not big floaties. Okay. So she was acknowledging the pool addendum that I had.
That I'll see. Now, she's going to show me your text messages to her.
Yes.
So you received the revised pool rules?
Yes.
And did the new pool rules say anything about guests?
No, it did not.
So if it said nothing about guests, you originally said that the pool is specifically reserved for residents of the complex.
Yes.
And according to you, the new pool rules, do they talk about having floaties in the pool?
Yes, it did.
Did it talk about having guests at the pool?
Yeah, actually it did.
And what did it say?
There was no problem, just like on the original lease. It was
no.
fine to have guests in the pool.
No, that's not what this says. This says that the pool is reserved for residents of the building only.
Well, we were already told before that it was fine to have guests.
This is the contract that you signed.
Yes, I understand.
Okay. So this is the first one that you signed, this one.
Mm-hmm.
And absent anything else, this says no guests at the pool. This says residents only.
Okay.
You say that it was the new rules allow you to have guests, or were they silent?
There was nothing on there saying that you cannot have guests. It was mainly just saying that you cannot have floaties, you cannot jump or run into the pool.
Just a second. Did it say anything about food?
No.
Is there a new sign posted around the pool that talks about food?
No, it does
All
not.
I want to see is, Miss Shaw, something in the new rules that talks about food. And I'm getting very bored with this. Now, when Miss Shaw came over and told you you couldn't have food, you had to get rid of the food, about what time was that?
Probably like
5, 6. I'm not exactly too sure.
And when had this food and stuff arrived? Was it?
We brought it. We were
5 people walked in with dinner to the pool area. And did the dinner include any alcoholic beverages like beer?
No.
What kind of drinks were there?
It was Pepsi. It was soda.
And what happened when Miss Shaw came over and told you weren't allowed to have the food at the pool?
She came very aggressively.
She came aggressively and she said you're not allowed.
She stormed out and screamed, get the food out and you guys need to leave.
And so what did you do?
I told her, okay, I'd get the food out, and I made a call to my sister to come help me with the food. And as we were packaging...
Where was your sister?
She was upstairs.
So when you came out with the food, you came out of the apartment?
No, we had just gotten there. We were coming from another pool area that wasn't
What other
open.
pool area?
My boyfriend's friend. We were going to swim at his pool, but it wasn't available because there was too many people there.
Were you at your boyfriend's house during the day?
No, I was at school, and they were all at work, so we all just met up after everything.
Okay, so you were asked by Miss Shaw to get the food out, and then you called your sister.
Yes, and I told her.
And then what happened?
And I told her if she could come get the food while we swam, or if not, that we were going to leave.
Why didn't you just get out?
Well, because I was trying to help, because we were splitting the check through the money, so we're splitting the pizza, who's getting what, and all of that. And before we even could leave, she stormed out again, screaming, saying, you guys are getting a notice, you guys are getting a notice, and running up the stairs to her, because she was coming out. And she was hey, what's going on? And then she's like, you guys are getting a notice. I'm tired of everybody not listening and coming to me with your problems. And then my sister was like, whoa, hey, relax. I'm coming to get the food. And then she threw the paper and my sister backed up
Okay, so the letter, she gave your sister the letter.
It was a notice.
She gave you the paper that said, this is a complaint. There are people in the pool who are eating, drinking, they don't belong here, they're not, whatever. She said, here's your notice.
Yes.
Okay, and that was on the 21st of June. Then what happened?
She stomped down the stairs, and I'm trying to tell her, you didn't give me time to come and get the food. And she ran back in her apartment and slammed her door.
And she went back to her apartment, and you went where?
Back into my house.
Okay, you went back into your house. And what did you do when you went back into your house?
When I got back there, I texted her, telling her that I was sorry that they had food in the pool, and I did not know that because I did not know at the time.
Just a second. So, Ms. Duran, let's cut to the chase, so that you knew they weren't supposed to have food in the pool, only snacks.
Yeah, but I didn't know they bring it.
Just a second. That's not what I asked you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You knew that there was no food in the pool, only water and snacks.
Okay, yes.
So you knew that.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Now, if you know that, and you have given, I'm just telling you what the law is. Mm-hmm. If you know that there is a rule, and you don't convey that, that's your problem, okay?
Okay.
All right, so that's June 21st, when guests that you agreed to have in the pool, you didn't know that there was food there, you knew that there wasn't supposed to be food there, that knowledge is imparted to your guests. That's a legal assumption. I want to know what happened after June 21st. When were you served with a 3-day notice to quit?
I believe it was on the 24th.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. I have 3 of the same. They sent me 3 of them.
I just have to see one. Did the attorney, who you say you gave by a cash app, return any of the money? Okay, well, you served this 3-day notice to quit, Ms. Shaw, and in it, you were alleging threatens to commit a crime. So I assume that the person, it talks about a statement, threatens to commit a crime. I assume that the threat was directed to you. Yes. In any event, you were given a 3-day notice to quit, but actually you managed to get that extended to 30 days.
Yes.
And one of the things that you had to do was to hire an attorney.
Yes.
And when you hired an attorney, did you hire an attorney and pay a retainer?
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay. I'd like to see proof of what you paid the attorney.
I don't think I bring what the criminal act was.
No. You're a month-to-month tenant.
Yes.
Landlord has a right to give you a 30-day notice and say you have to quit the premises. You have no legal right to be there. My only question is you were not given 30 days notice. You were given a 3-day notice, and I'm not actually convinced that there was a basis to give you a 3-day notice. If I called him, would he tell me that you paid him?
Yes.
Melissa Duran has accused her former property manager, Tracy Shaw, of wrongfully evicting her. Tracy claims Melissa was violating apartment rules.
Now, if you got 30 days, and the reason you got 30 days is because you retained an attorney, I'm prepared to look to see how much you paid the attorney, because that's an expense that you have that you wouldn't have had but for the 3-day notice to quit. They're entitled to tell you to leave. I mean, you're there with too many people living in the apartment. They've already had a kerfuffle because you allowed your sister and her boyfriend and friends to come to the pool. They were told no food. They ignored them. But I don't think any of that rises to the level of grounds to give you a 3-day notice to quit. I think that if they want to tell you that you have to be out in 30 days, that's reasonable, but they didn't. They gave you a 3-day notice forcing you to hire an attorney. I'm prepared to give you the attorney's fees if you prove to me that you paid an attorney.
I do have proof of that, but I do not have it with me.
Okay. And how much did you pay him? That's an easy thing for me to verify.
I believe it was $1,200.
I want you to think about it carefully.
No, it was $1,200 because he had lowered it. He lowered it from $1,400 to $1,200.
And you paid him by check or cash?
I paid him in Cash App. Is the only way I could.
Did he go to court with you?
We haven't. This is the first court act.
Okay,
So that was the reason why I obtained the lawyer, so he can find out what the criminal act was.
And just by phone calls, he got them to extend it to 30 days. So you were never in court, and you left after the 30 days.
I left before the 30. I left on August 1st.
Okay. And where did you go?
I had to move all the way to Atwater, California.
Is that where you live now?
Yes, it is.
And who lives with you?
My husband and my young son. That's it, just the 3 of us. We moved into a smaller, more expensive place.
Okay, and you left your sisters?
And my mother.
And your mother.
They are somewhere completely different.
Okay, what do you...
This is in their lease about disturbances and threats.
Listen, I've already made a determination that the 3-day notice should have been a 30-day notice to leave. I don't think that anything that I've heard today rises to the level of giving people who've been in the apartment as long as they had, especially over pizza, requires a 3-day notice. So the only question that I'm entertaining on behalf of the plaintiff and the only monetary award that I'm going to contemplate are attorney's fees. Did the attorney, who you say you gave by a Cash App, return any of the money since he never had to go to court for you?
No, he did not.
Just a second. If I called him right now, would he tell me that you paid him $1,200?
Yes, he would. Yes, he would. Though what I was going to tell you is that I did not have enough to pay him completely. I still owe him $250.
So you didn't pay him. So you paid him $950.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry.
What do you mean, okay?
No, I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't.
So you paid him $950?
Yes.
I'm awarding you $950, which are your attorney's fees, for the reason that, I'm speaking, for the reasons that I've stated, because they have an absolute right to give you a 30-day notice, tell you to leave, and there was a basis for it, actually. And you know, there was a basis for saying your guests, which is you, are not abiding by the rules. You're a month-to-month tenant. Right now, we do not intend to keep you as a tenant. We're giving you 30 days notice. Was inappropriate given the level of infraction. So I'm awarding you the counsel fees because that's what it took to get you your 30 days. This case is over. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I'm disappointed in the decision.
Her actions of her aggression, throwing something in my face, that was a little bit excessive.
I don't feel that I got to say more of the story that continued to happen.
Her actions caused me to get evicted in 3 days.
They have bad character, and so I don't think that I owed them anything.
I mean, I didn't think anything like what come to this, you know.
I'm just glad they're gone.
I'm happy to be out because I just really wanted her to be held responsible for what she did.
So a trend I've seen a lot here is plaintiffs suing for wrongful eviction when they're a month-to-month tenant. And from what I've learned in landlord-tenant law in New York, I know it varies a lot from state to state, is the landlord only has to give you as much notice as your term, which if you're a month-to-month tenant would be 30 days. So people have to really understand the legalese of their contract and of their lease, because if you feel like you're being wrongfully evicted as a month-to-month tenant, that's a different standard than if you have a standard year-long written lease.
Well, that's sort of the reason. I didn't think that the one instance that was raised was sufficient to give them a 3-day emergency notice to quit. Might have been enough, that coupled by the fact that there were too many people living in the apartment, to give them a 30-day notice. That is, you're right, it's your property. But I didn't think it rose to the level of a 3-day notice to quit for threats.
I didn't either, so I agreed with your $950 judgment for the attorney's fees.
Would have been happier if she had some sort of a receipt or something from her Cash App.
Yeah.
Because
deposit and stolen property.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2066, Michelonius versus Robertson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Robertson, how long had you been living in your apartment prior to renting a room to the plaintiff?
I believe it was about 3 years.
You had been living there by yourself?
No, I had roommates previously.
When did the plaintiff move in?
I believe that it was January 1st of 2017.
2017?
It may have been 2018. It was the first, I forget.
It was 2018.
That's correct.
How long did he live there with you?
He lived there with me until September of 2021.
So far, that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So now let me understand this lawsuit. Mr. Robertson lived in his apartment for 3 years. You answered an ad for a room. You lived with him in his home as a tenant from January 2018 until September 2021.
Correct.
At that time, there was a dispute. We will get into that in a moment. There was a dispute. During part of that time, Mr. Michelonius, you did not pay rent. Is that correct? During COVID?
That's correct.
For what period of time did you not pay rent?
Well, there was, I had...
Give me how many months did not pay rent?
There was...
You don't have to think out loud. How many months between January of 2018 and September 2021 did you not pay rent? Give me a number. That's a number.
4 months. Some months I paid partial rent. But there were 4 months that I did not pay any rent.
4 months, no rent. And how many months did you pay partial rent?
I believe that would have been 4 or 3.
So for 7 months, you did not pay your rent. Paying partial rent is not rent. Now, my question to you, Mr. Robertson, is this is an apartment that you rent. Was your rent current?
My portion of the rent was current.
What do you mean your portion?
My portion that I was responsible for.
No, it's your apartment. You're responsible for the whole thing, Mr. Robertson.
Yes.
Okay? You're responsible for the whole rent. And if what you chose to do was to say to your landlord, listen, I have a roommate, I'm just paying my portion of the rent, my roommate isn't paying his, then your rent wasn't paid.
Yes.
And I assume that your rent wasn't paid for the same period of time that he didn't pay you his portion of the rent.
Yes.
Was it for any period of time greater than that? Greater than the 4 months or the 7 months that he didn't pay rent?
I went through my bank statements, and they went back until, I believe, July of 2020, and that's as far back as my bank app lets me go.
Okay.
There were more months than that I received partial or no rent payments for.
From him?
From him.
I'm asking you about your landlord. If you didn't pay your landlord, you telling me your landlord didn't file an eviction against you?
There were several months that he did pay his full rent, and so that would have meant that the entire rent for that period.
Well, I know, but if the rent was not paid, did your landlord ever serve you an eviction notice?
No, there was an eviction moratorium in Alameda County at that point for unpaid rents due to COVID.
Gotcha. So that would it be a fair statement that you both took advantage of that? He took advantage of it, and so did you.
I wouldn't say that it was me trying to take advantage. I would just say it was my inability to cover the entire rent.
Your portion as well as his?
My portion was always covered.
Your portion was covered? And when did you leave there?
I believe it was the 3rd or 4th week of August of 2021.
So you both left the place at about the same time?
I left involuntarily, but yes.
Well, you left involuntarily, because that's what this case is about. Okay, so now I have the structure of it. Do you understand the structure of it?
I understand.
You understand the structure of it? I just want to make sure that people out there watching understand the structure of it. So you were the rentor, and you had an argument. It resulted in a protective order for somehow some genius put him out of his own apartment because of these protective... You weren't in the hospital for anything, were you, as a result of an assault? No.
No.
You have no medical records there of being treated for any injury.
It was a harassment.
Just a minute. Do you know my husband harasses me every day? Every day. I couldn't think of evicting him. I mean, you do other things. So the answer is, you were never treated for any illness. You were never treated for anxiety at a hospital as a result of this harassment. As a result of your allegations, let us say of harassment, Mr. Robertson was ejected from his own home, from which you had not been paying rent, your portion that you were supposed to pay contractually with him for months because of COVID. Am I getting this story right? So far, I'm not finished yet, but so far, is there anything that I said was wrong?
I think that's pretty close. I mean,
okay, so that's pretty close. And now, what you are seeking here is, should I say, basically, and I hate that word, basically, but it's appropriate in this case. So all of those haters out there, she used basically, I don't care. It's appropriate here.
And I put in the protective order that they were living with me, but they were moving.
No. They were living with you. You were living with them.
Well, yeah, we were living together.
No. You.
Mark Michelonis claims his former roommate, Christopher Robertson, owes for rent, a security deposit, and stolen property. Christopher is countersuing, claiming Mark owes him for rent.
Now, what you're claiming in your lawsuit is that after a review of the copy of the underlying lease, you found that you were paying the vast majority of the rent.
Correct.
And so you want a return of that money.
That's correct.
Under what theory in the law?
Well, basically that he defrauded.
No, now you can't use a basically.
Okay.
I want to know what theory is there in the law that says if I own a building and I lease to someone the whole building for $10,000, and then I find somebody who is prepared to pay me, and I have the first 2 floors of the building. 3rd floor is vacant. I find somebody who's willing to pay me $9,000 a month just for the top floor. That makes me a good business person. But unless there is something that prohibits him from doing that...
There is, Your Honor.
Show me.
There's a clause in the lease.
No, just show me.
Okay.
I'm a lawyer. I can read a lease.
So the sublease that I agreed to with him incorporates the entirety of this master
Just a second.
lease.
I'd just like to see it, please, sir. I'd just like to see it. I assume you've highlighted what you want me to read.
Correct.
Not advised that you were subletting.
No.
Well, that's why signed by every tenant.
So that was one of the things, because if you look at the second lease, the one that was altered by Christopher to remove those areas so I wouldn't be aware, I wouldn't be able to enforce them, was because he moved his boyfriend in without getting my consent. And so it says in there that he needs written consent. I understand that that doesn't apply to me, but he thought it did. And so he used whiteout on the other lease that I gave to you to obfuscate those terms.
I don't know how to put this to you, sir, other than to say, let me backtrack. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a web developer.
You work for yourself or for a company?
I do. I'm an independent contractor.
How long have you been doing that?
2 years.
Prior to that, what were you doing?
I was a system administrator.
For whom?
For a small company in San Francisco.
How long did you work for them?
6 years.
So for 2 years, you were an independent web developer, and you're still an independent web developer.
Correct.
And that's how you support yourself.
Right.
So you work out of your home.
Right.
And you've been working out of your home, you said, the last 2 years since 2020. This is 2022 or 19.
Right.
What do you mean, right?
So it would have been.
When you moved in 2018, were you an independent contractor?
No, I was going to school.
You were going to school?
Right.
For what?
I went to,
Just a second, for what?
For web technologies. It was a program for web development technology.
Did you go in person?
Yes. It was an intensive.
For how long?
It was 3 months. It was 8 hours a day.
Okay, so you went to school for 3 months.
Right.
During what period of time?
January 2018 to end of March 2018.
Okay, and at that time you were living with the plaintiff?
Correct.
Okay, so you needed a room for that 3 month period. And after that time, you supported yourself by being your own boss, by developing websites for people.
It took me a while to find a job, but yes, industry.
And so what did you do?
So I started taking on independent work.
So you never actually got a job outside of the independent work that you did?
That's correct.
So you support yourself by doing web development out of your home?
Yes.
So you used the home that you were living in, that room that you were renting, for not only your personal business, but you operated a place of business out of your residence.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
Yes.
Yes. I just want you to see how ridiculous you are. You want $10,000 because you overpaid what you consider your fair share of the rent. That's not going to happen. You come here, you didn't pay rent for at least 7 months because of COVID. You were working according to you. You were a web developer, still are. It's 2022 because you have no other job other than being a web developer. You stopped paying rent. You moved out after he did, correct?
Well,
did you pay?
I'd like to correct
in the
something.
month that you lived there, when you had put him out of his house because they
were moving out. I did not put him out of the house.
I thought that was a protective order.
It was, but they were, and I put in the protective order that they were living with me, but they were moving, and so.
No. They were living with you. You were living with them.
Well, yeah, we were living together.
No. You were living with the defendant. He wasn't living with you. You were renting a place, although you weren't paying rent from him, and the underlying landlord wasn't getting his money, all of his money, because he wasn't getting your money. And what's coming to me is that somebody got stiffed with rent, and that would be the landlord who rented you, me, to award you $10,000 for overpayment of rent.
Your Honor, could I clarify something? The times when I didn't pay rent, I was not working. It was during COVID, so the first couple months of the COVID lockdown, I lost all of my contracts, so I didn't have any money. And so I was using there was a COVID process where you could, basically say that,
There's no basically in there, only I used it once.
I did not have the money to pay rent. I was not just making money and not paying rent. I would not do that. I was broke. All of my contracts dried up because nobody had any money. I was working for small
So what are you
companies.
suing him for now? The government was very good to you. This is a very interesting America. It's a rent forgiveness, a rent moratorium. That doesn't mean the state where you live. What state do you live in?
California.
California. That doesn't mean the owner of this premises was given some sort of a break that they didn't have to pay for utilities, taxes, mortgage on the building, because it's used as a business. As far as I know, there wasn't a moratorium on that, but there was a moratorium on two seemingly able-bodied people to say to the landlord, I can't pay my rent. And to add insult to injury, you think that I'm going to give you $10,000 because he charged you more than whatever the 3rd or 40% of your occupancy of the apartment, and he shouldn't have? That's not going to happen, sir. So forget it. I've been here a long time. If a landlord is owed $5,000,
yes,
he doesn't say, well, tenant owes me $5,000, but his apartment was clean. I'm going to give him back his $2,000 security deposit. That doesn't happen.
Mark Michelonis has accused his for unpaid rent.
Now, you gave him a security deposit. That is part of your lawsuit.
Correct.
So I want you to forget the overpayment of rent because it is ridiculous.
Okay.
So now let's go to the security deposit part of your complaint. Did he give you a security deposit?
He did, Your Honor.
Now, he didn't pay rent because of this moratorium
Yes.
on rent. Did you get your security deposit back from the landlord?
I did.
How much?
I believe I got the total amount for the entire apartment, which was approximately $2,000.
And how much did Mr. Michelonis give you as a security deposit?
He gave me $1,250 for the security deposit plus a $300 pet deposit.
Sometimes the pet deposit is refundable. Did you get the pet deposit back?
I don't recall specifically if I got that back from the landlord.
But you did get back your entire security deposit, which included his $1,250.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Let's hold that in abeyance for a moment, because now I'm going to go to your counterclaim.
Sure.
I think that's all I have to deal with. Oh, and property taken without permission. Did you get that property back? There was some...
I did not.
What property was it?
There was a stone Buddha carving. There was some dishes, some glasses.
Oh, give me a break. Do you have a stone Buddha carving?
I have the stone Buddha carving. I have a small statuette, a rooster that is his, and a small metal
Great. Would you
set.
pack those up
Yes.
Do you live close to each other?
I haven't been able to because of our mutual restraining orders.
Fine. Do you know where your local precinct is? You leave today in 5 days, drop it off at the local precinct.
Absolutely.
Let him know when, and he could go pick up his Buddha.
Yes, I don't want bad in my home.
Terrific. Now, money owed for COVID debt is your counterclaim.
Yes.
Which is what?
It is a total of $55.35, I believe.
For what?
That is the unpaid rent.
But you didn't pay his rent, you just told me.
Right, and so this is the outstanding balance of the rent that he never paid that I'm responsible for as the master tenant.
Oh, no, you just told me that you got your security deposit back. If you got your security deposit back, sir, that means that the landlord is finished with you.
According to the law...
Not according to the law. If you got your security deposit back, the entire security deposit, the landlord has written it off because otherwise he would have taken your security deposit if you owed him or her money. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's very simple.
I understand what you're saying.
It's very simple.
I wish I could explain that to them in your...
Well...
in your manner.
I want to tell you something. I've been here a long time. If a landlord is owed $5,000,
yes,
he doesn't say, well, tenant owes me $5,000, but his apartment was clean. I'm going to give him back his $2,000 security deposit. That doesn't happen.
So
only in the land of Oz does that happen.
They might live there.
No, they might live there, but I don't live there. Okay. You owe him $1,250 for security deposit. This case is over. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're done.
Court is adjourned.
Thank you very much.
I would just like to bring...
Bye.
Well, I was a little upset.
He's being a drama queen.
The clause in the lease was to prevent people from basically taking advantage of the fact that they've been living in a place for a long time and gouging rent for new tenants.
He said I was price gouging him because he was enough to pay more rent than he might have if he had done some more research.
They were trying to make it equal, and I was unjustly charged.
Well, I can't say it wasn't very satisfying to hear the judge call his claims ridiculous to his face.
Basically, he was leaving the front door open, making it so my dog could escape easily. He was filling the house up with smoke.
We both burned sage.
He was basically trying to get me riled up. He wanted me to move.
While I am disappointed that I won't be able to recover some of his COVID debt.
Basically, the moment that he was, it was inconvenient for me to be there, he tried to make my life miserable.
I'm glad that I will never have to see him again, and this is done.
I'm not living with roommates ever again. I've got my dog, and we're cool.
He was a nightmare, and I never have to see him again.
You know, far be it from me to second guess another judge, but it would seem to me sort of outrageous unless there was some sort of a physical altercation. Why anyone, because he clearly was excluded from his house. He left first, and he said, involuntarily. Would anybody exclude
the original tenant?
The original
when I read the papers, I thought the same thing. I thought that was outrageous, that they would throw out the primary leaseholder on a lease in favor of his subtenant, which may or may not have been legal to begin with.
I can understand it if there was something more serious. But harassment, I just don't understand it. But mine is not to wonder why. Mine is but to do what I do. And I don't think that when you come into a court where you have at least participated marginally in a giveaway, to then come in and say, you know what, there's a technical thing. He wasn't supposed to charge me this much rent because I didn't occupy this much of the apartment, whatever. Ridiculous when you didn't pay rent for 7 months anyway. It made my job.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2008, Delano versus Taylor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Briefly, and then I'll get into specifics. You sold over the internet some wigs. You claim you sold them to the defendant.
Yes.
They were charged on a credit card. According to you, it was the defendant's credit card. You shipped the wigs. The defendant, according to you, received the wigs, then challenged the credit card charge, and the charge was reversed so that you did not get your money. And Miss Taylor kept the wigs. It is Miss Taylor's claim that you never sold her the wigs, that you sold the wigs to clients of hers, and if they didn't pay you, that's not her problem. Is that your defense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Stop jumping up and down because it makes me seasick.
Okay.
Stand still. I can't. You can't. You want a stool to sit on?
No.
You sure?
I just have anxiety.
Okay. Ms. Diallo,
How long had you been in the online wig business?
3 years now.
And on what date did Miss Taylor contact you?
October 1st of 2021.
Had you ever dealt with her before?
I haven't. A customer of mine actually referred her to me.
You had not dealt with her before?
Correct.
And her first order was for what?
A 34-inch deep wave wig unit.
I don't know what that is. Tell me how much it cost you.
$391.
And how much did you charge Miss Taylor?
$491.96.
And you shipped it to her?
No, I didn't.
Where did you ship it?
Right now, I didn't ship anything at the moment.
Okay, so she ordered the first one for $491.
Yes, and then after that, I shipped after.
How many did she order all in total?
In total, 5.
Within what period of time?
In the span of 4 days.
Okay, and Miss Taylor, you do not deny the fact that 5 wigs were ordered in a conversation over the internet with the plaintiff.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Joyce?
One of my clients. Your Honor, that's her.
Shh. Do you have a MasterCard?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever?
No, ma'am.
Do you have any credit card?
Yes, ma'am.
How long has Joyce been a client of yours?
Probably about a year.
When you say she's a client of yours, she comes to your salon?
Yes.
You have a salon?
My apartment. No, I have to do my hair out of my apartment.
So she comes to your apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you know when she wants to come for an appointment?
She'll text me. She'll DM me.
Okay, so she texts you, which means she texts you from a phone.
Right.
Which means that you have your phone, which shows her text messages.
Not.
What do you mean, not? If she texts you for an appointment, then you know how to contact her.
Yeah.
And she knows how to contact you. I want to see that. I want to call her.
I don't have that phone anymore.
Get it. You have to understand where I'm going. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yes, you understand where I'm going. Who is that?
My boyfriend.
Your boyfriend. What does he have to do with this?
Because he was at the house when her and someone else came to the door.
I don't care.
Okay.
If I were coming to court today and I knew that there was going to be a certain amount of proof that involved some person who is named Joyce, and order confirmation email was sent to Joyce at your email address.
Right.
Right. And Joyce is somebody who was a client of yours for a year, not too long ago, who's no longer a client of yours. Not uh-huh isn't an answer. Yes is an answer.
Ma'am.
But you can't give me her number. That's two different things. You see, if she may have blocked your number, she won't block my number. That's not what you told me. You told me you don't have that phone anymore.
I don't.
Well,
and she blocked me.
How do I know that?
Her. I don't know.
How do I know that?
Did.
Yeah, right. Okay. Dora Dynasty, is that your?
Yes, that's my business.
That's your business. Well, these wigs were sent to Dora Dynasty.
Right.
Right. I know, right. And who is?
A client.
And is still your client?
No.
No. Okay. You seem to be having a lot of trouble in your business.
How?
Yeah.
I've been having this trouble ever since the wigs have got delivered, and she hit me about a dispute.
Let me explain something to you. You purchased the wigs based upon her conversation.
I got
she had just pay careful attention to me. They were all delivered to you.
Right.
That means you bought them. If somebody stiffed you, that's not her problem. But according to her, and you acknowledge that she sent you 5 wigs, and the is not an answer. Do you understand? You following me? Okay. What was the total value of her purchase?
$21.96.
And can I see the reversal of that charge on your credit card?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at some point, your credit card was charged. At some point, your credit card was charged. That's either a yes or a no.
No.
Whose credit card was charged?
My client's.
Which client?
I'm not sure. Whichever wig she said was disputed.
You said in your answer you kept all the wigs.
No, I didn't. I didn't keep all the wigs. They got delivered to my house. 2 of them I installed, and the rest they picked up.
The wigs got shipped directly to my salon.
The wig shipped to my apartment because I was going to do their hair. I told them about the vendor.
Are you trying to tell me that despite the records that she has, that you were the contact person on all of this?
Right.
No, they paid who?
They paid her. They paid for the wigs, and they got them shipped to my house.
Were 4 different people charged for the wigs?
Yes.
4 different people?
Yes, she did 5 different transactions.
Are you telling me that the 5 different transactions were all her?
All her.
That makes my life easy. So what you're saying to me, she charged it on 5 different cards.
Yes, no idea.
But she is all of those people.
All of them.
How?
I'd like to see it.
Please.
And Your Honor, she also admits it on Twitter. She doesn't actually know I have her Twitter account. And this is how she gets them. She orders,
May I see it, please? See how you're smiling? Bad. She should have left you home.
Man, please.
Do you understand? She should have left you home.
Nah, they just ain't
You
communicating
should have left
right.
you home.
They ain't communicating right.
Still not a good look from you.
Fatoumata Diallo claims salon owner Kanaya Taylor owes for the cost of 5 wigs.
What's Beauty?
That's her business name. Business Twitter.
I don't have a Twitter.
Right.
I have an Instagram, 2 of them.
I have
and a business page. That's what I have. I don't have a Twitter. Do you have my Instagram?
I do.
Don't talk to each other. Don't ask her any questions. That's so interesting.
What?
From Dora Salon, is that it? Or Dora Salon?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
I have her LLC.
Just a second. Yeah. Can I see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Dora Dynasty.
And here's her LLC, so it matches.
I'd like to see it.
And here you go as well.
Well, this is from... Yeah. Dora Salon 1 Beauty, Dora Dynasty LLC, Dora's Dynasty.
Right.
And about the same time, the tweet is over 2,000 in wigs. I'll smack those. And then on the 13th, you write, my wigs come tomorrow. And then on October 11th, I'll be wrong if I dispute it once I get it. And then I don't know what are the...
Because,
what is,
ma'am,
just a sec, I'm reading something. Is not an answer. I didn't ask you anything. What does that mean, Sarah?
It's just an emoji. Like, so what? I don't care.
Oh, I'll be wrong if I dispute it once I get it. So what? But was so rude I can't even ask them questions, telling me I didn't read it. And then she writes, see how you're smiling? Bad. She should have left you home.
Man, please.
Do you understand? She should have left you home.
Nah, they just ain't
You
communicating
should have left
right.
you home.
They ain't communicating right.
I paid all this money for these wigs and these slow rolling. Wow. I assume that those people, the clients that you were talking about, was slow rolling. Would that be a fair statement? I mean, I'm not familiar with all of this. And then you show me in these tweets, or whatever they call them, a picture that was put up by Boo. Is that a name?
Yes.
Now, what is that?
That's her client actually contacting me and telling me that she's charged her for the wigs and that she was never a stylist to begin with.
How did I upcharge the fee when they paid for it themselves?
Nobody hears you, madam. Okay, so you acknowledge you got them. Your statement is you no longer have them. She didn't make a deal with you. She made a deal with 4 other phantom clients, 2 of whom either you lost your phone, the dog ate your phone, you don't have the number anymore, you don't have the contact anymore, but we don't know how to get in touch with him. And then there was somebody that actually was wearing one of the wigs that she didn't get paid for, that she got from you. Still not a good look from you.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, not a good look.
It's funny because it's not true.
Not a good look. You the boyfriend?
Yeah.
Stand up for a minute. Just have a couple of questions. Tell me your name.
Braylon, right?
What do you do for a living?
I'm a barber.
Do you live together?
Yes.
How long have you lived together?
Going on a year.
So you were living with her when these wigs were delivered?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, would be an answer. Were you there when she opened the wigs?
One wig she had to put together for a client. Then she opened, she told me she was doing, I know her. I don't be in no business like that.
So the answer is you were only there when one wig was delivered?
I was only there when she opened one wig.
When she opened one.
And I took her to go pick up a wig from her.
Did you drive her there?
Yeah.
Did you go in with her?
No. She came outside. She walked across the street and got it.
Don't speak. Don't speak. She walked across the street and got it.
From her, yeah. Downtown.
Your Honor, she was actually driving.
Do you work out of the apartment as well?
No.
You work out of a shop?
Yes.
Are you ever there when your girlfriend is working on clients in your house, in your apartment?
Yeah, I've been there.
Often?
Not really, I be gone. Working hours, I'm working. If she work at the house, I'm working at the shop.
How many rooms are in the place where you and the defendant live?
At the time, we was in a 2-bedroom apartment.
And who was there, just the two of you?
No, we had a roommate.
So you had one bedroom for yourselves, you had a roommate, and then there was a common area, kitchen, living room, right?
Yes.
Where did she conduct her salon business, in what room?
What it would be like dining room area connected.
In the dining room?
Yeah.
And is that where she kept her equipment?
Yes.
Is that where she kept?
One she was working on the door, maybe two at the most.
You paid rent in the apartment?
Did I pay rent? Nah.
Did she pay rent?
Yes.
How much?
It was like, what, $1,200?
Don't ask her anything.
$1,200. I don't pay the rent, $1,200. I don't pay it, so I don't know.
Why don't you pay anything towards rent?
I don't have to pay the rent if I pay the bills, I pay car notes, I pay different stuff. We 50-50.
Well, if it's 50-50, then you would also pay part of the rent.
Not if it add up to both our car notes, rent, which really be a little bit more.
Okay, so you pay the other bills, she pays the rent.
I moved in with her. I ain't lived there the whole time. I thought it'd only be like a year. She was already staying there. I moved in.
With what did you pay the car note? With a check?
No, I pay with either a car or my money.
Your girlfriend, does she have a car?
Does she have a car?
Yes, yes or no?
Not right now, she did.
Did she?
Yes.
What kind of a car did she have?
Chevrolet Sonic.
And what happened to that car?
It got, whatever, repoed.
It was repossessed.
They were scamming me on my insurance.
Just a second. I didn't ask you anything. I'm asking your witness. Okay. You brought him.
All right. I'm not the only person you suing. If I pulled up
nobody
and bought a vehicle, why wouldn't I?
Nobody is listening to you.
Okay, well, can I leave?
No.
Fatoumata Diallo has accused salon owner Kanaya Taylor of stealing 5 wigs. Kanaya says Fatoumata was trying to scam her.
So the car was repossessed. When? Don't look at her. Give me a month, give me a year. Was it recent, in the last 3 months, 4 months?
I can't give you a month.
So it was repossessed because of non-payment of whatever the note was, because that's the only basis to repossess a car. Okay. Now, you say you're not living in that same apartment anymore. You were living in this 2-bedroom apartment with a apartment.
I moved. She moved with me.
Okay. You moved when?
November.
November of 2021.
Yes.
Just about the time of all these disputes over wigs. Did your roommate remain in the apartment?
Yes.
Did you have a lease in that apartment?
Yes.
Was your lease over, or did you move out during the lease?
It was over, and I renewed it for my roommate.
Now, the lease was in your name. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh is not an answer. Yes is an answer, and you renewed the lease even though you moved out.
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you living now?
In Conyers.
What kind of place?
House. And I pay all the bills.
And what does your girlfriend do?
She works.
What does she do?
She does lashes. She does hair. She does nails. She's an entrepreneur.
Does she have a website?
Yes.
Yes. What's the name of her website? You think?
Yeah, I think. I don't be on her. I don't shop with her.
Got it?
Looking.
Did you have a conversation with Miss Taylor about these 5 wigs? Did you have a conversation with her?
Yes.
Do you have a cell phone?
Me? No.
Did you ever have a cell phone?
Yes.
What happened to your cell phone?
I broke it, so I went on another one.
And you didn't get another one?
It have to get sent to the house. I just broke it. Like, I just broke it.
You just broke it?
Yeah.
So
last
you
week.
have a cell phone. Tell me how you broke the cell phone.
I got real angry and I threw it.
You got angry with somebody?
Yes.
And tell me how your girlfriend lost her cell phone.
Oh, she gave it to me.
And when did she lose her cell phone?
She gave me that phone. I bought her another phone. She gave me that phone.
So she gave you...
Around...
just a second. So she gave you the phone that she had been using?
Yes.
Which had Joyce information on it. That was the phone she gave you.
I guess so.
Want to be in business, you have to pay for what you ordered. It's absolutely, I'm not speaking to you, it's absolutely outrageous that she sent you these wigs, they were delivered to your house, and she not only doesn't have the wigs, she doesn't have not only her profit, she doesn't have any money. And you've got a lot of clients that you can't identify, and phones that got lost, and information that you don't have. And information that you don't have, Clients that are no longer clients, that blocked you. I mean, people who block you after you work for them for a year, that means that you're either doing a lousy job.
No, because the way she came at me, I actually chumped them off because I feel like you're messing up my business. So I chumped them off, and I guess she didn't want to reply, and she just blocked me.
2196, judgment for the plaintiff.
Your Honor, I have other text messages. I was out of business for like month and a half.
I have to tell you something. I can't discern whether you lost business or not because of this. I cannot discern that. I can give you back the money that you lost as a result of shipping her 5 wigs and not getting compensated for it.
And I also have court fees, and I ordered a PI as well.
But
just a second.
More people
that
than
I will
just me
hear.
for wigs.
What were your court fees?
I'm not the only person you suing. If I pulled up
nobody
and bought a wig, why wouldn't I?
Nobody is listening to you.
Okay, well, can I leave?
No.
It's
court fees.
Like.
And I also have my incident report that day.
Just a second. Would you please just give me the court fees? You said you had court fees and you hired an investigator.
Yes, I did.
And I'd like to see that invoice, because that's you're entitled to.
I have the text messages of my PI.
I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is that you're handing me. I asked you what the court fees were.
I have my PI phone number.
You have nothing.
I didn't print out my court fees, but I do have my more.
Do you have an invoice from the investigator that you say that you hired?
Yes.
And the work that...
And we have the text message trying to find her everything.
Can I see it, please? It was $250 for skip tracing and $150 for service.
My sales went down.
Just a second. Did this person serve her?
Yes, they did.
2196, judgment for the plaintiff. That's it. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I never did it. You know, I just got it sent to my house.
We went through everything. We had to go through birthdays.
It's like saying, oh, I know a friend that they know how to cut hair.
Text messages, everything.
And then you don't like your haircut. What you want me to pay for your haircut? Like, girl.
We literally hawked her down for the information.
She honestly messed up my clientele.
It would be easy to be forthcoming with me and say, these are the clients who I sold it to. I gave her the information. They were supposed to pay her, whatever, but she didn't.
A lot of running around.
A lot of running
story.
around. And there's no question that the plaintiff sold her those wigs. She made a markup. She made a 25% markup. That's okay. And I'm certain that she put in the wigs and made her own markup. Yep. You know, that's commerce. But this ability to reverse charges on a credit card and to have somebody, and it's usually just a person, we're not talking about a committee or a tribunal that determined whether or not the charge was legitimate, just to reverse it. And then where are you? You're left without your product. Very frustrating.
It's a double-edged sword. It can be very useful. I've had to do that on a few different occasions. And the process is very hidden and sort of behind the curtain. And I fear for people like the plaintiff who run their own business, hardworking people who make the best money on the internet because there's no overhead fee of running a store.
अरे बोला था चूड़ी कंगना राजा जानिया हो, अरे टूटा था रोज रोज पिया बदानिया हो, टूटा था रोज रोज पिया बदानिया, अरे बोला था चूड़ी कंगना राजा जानिया हो, अरे टूटा था रोज रोज पिया बदानिया हो। अब हाथ के मेहंदी हमरो छूटत बाटे, लाले लाले गलिया ओठ लालिया, पिया मोरे सुखत बाटे, राजा मोरे सुखत बाटे, पिया मोरे सुखत बाटे, राजा मोरे सुखत बाटे। रोआता से पे ओढ़ना बिछावना हो अरे धाके कमरिया खेला खिलावना हो धाके कमरिया खेला खिलावना अरे रोआता से पे ओढ़ना बिछावना हो अरे धाके कमरिया खेला खिलावना हो और छाती से साथी के तकिया बितात बाटे लाले लाले गलिया ओठ लालिया पिया मोर सुखत बाटे राजा मोर सुखत बाटे पिया मोर सुखत बाटे राजा मोर सुखत बाटे होता बेकार कायल सोरहो सिंगार हो हर तड़पेला जवानी अनुराग हो तड़पेला जवानी अनुराग हो होता बेकार कायल सोरहो सिंगार हो हर तड़पेला जवानी अनुराग हो और बीपिन तोहरे प्यार से मनवा खुगत बाटे लाले लाले गलिया ओठ लालिया पिया मोर सुखत बाटे राजा मोर सुखत बाटे पिया मोर सुखत बाटे राजा मोर सुखत